Welcome back everyone to the second episode of the Fortnight Show, starring me, iiiSAndman, and I'm super thrilled and excited to be back with a super awesome guest. I've gone down the opposite end of the spectrum to who I had on the first episode, which was Barla TW, if you guys haven't checked that out already, who of course is from the Fortnite comp side of things. This time round, I've got a content creator, live streamer, and overall Fortnite creative champion. So everybody, give it up for MustardPlays.
Hey.
Welcome to the set. It's going crazy on the set. Let's see if we can shoot a 3 before we sit you down, Batman.
Okay, we'll see if we can do a 3. All right.
Ooh. Oh, yes. No, welcome to the show, though. I appreciate you coming on.
It's good to be here.
Hi.
Happy to be on the Fortnite Show, the one and only Fortnite Show.
Exactly. So first of all, I just want to kick things off by just briefly, who is MustardPlays outside of the content creator world? Like, how would your family and friends describe you? The sort of hobbies that you have outside of gaming? Just give us a brief little background about you. The you.
Oh, it depends how in depth you want to go. Oh my gosh. I mean, so just a little bit about me. I am I'm kind of an older guy. I've been gaming a long time. Like the first games I played were on the oh my gosh, I just
the NES
forgot
or
the
something.
name of it. No, it was before. It was
Atari.
The Atari. I was playing the Atari. You know, Jungle Hunt and some of the classic games from Atari when I was a kid. And then when I wasn't really good at video games until probably later into the NES era and Super Nintendo. Like the Super Nintendo to me is like still the best console. And then the N64.
Oh.
Like I was a teenager when that came out.
Yeah.
And, like saved up all my money to buy that. And
Legendary.
I remember when Ocarina of Time came out with the gold cartridge, driving. Like was one of my first times driving as a 16-year-old. Had to drive to GameStop and pick it up like right when the store opened and drove home and played it all day. So that's more of my like gaming history. And then I took a break from gaming for a long time because I was at college, and I made this little deal with myself that I wouldn't play video games again until I got married because I was doing full-time. I was full-time working, full-time school.
Is that just to focus and keep your heads down?
Yeah, exactly. Says I was like gaming. I knew was going to be a distraction because I was way into like StarCraft and Warcraft and stuff like that, and I was like, man, those things can just suck you in. And so, but the problem was I didn't get married for like another 13 years or something. So I took a long break from
Big hiatus, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got back, and I was like, you know what, it's time I got married, and I was like, you know what, I want to get back into gaming, and instead of just playing video games by myself for fun, I decided to stream, and have fun with a community and build a community at the same time. That way, not only could I have fun playing games, but my wife could get behind it. Because if I was just playing games by myself, she'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Was that was straight on Facebook? Was it the first platform?
No, it started on YouTube Gaming actually.
Oh, okay.
YouTube it started with their streaming service, and I streamed mostly like Zelda games and Nintendo games. And then when Fortnite came out, I started getting into Fortnite quite a bit, mostly because.
Well, let's save that a bit. We'll save that for a later question.
Okay. That's how I got into streaming. And then, like in my normal life, I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. We just had our second. We have a little boy and a little girl, and my boy was just born 3 months ago.
Yeah, it's very recent. I remember seeing your post about it. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. It's fun. It's tiring. Having kids is amazing and amazingly hard. So it's a lot of fun. And then when I have free time, when I'm not being a dad or gaming or working, I love to read, actually. I have like a big library of books that I collect. I love collecting books and reading. I'm really into like fantasy, sci-fi, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then I actually like to play some sports as well. I love basketball, and these days as I get older, my body isn't quite as in shape
not as
as it used to
agile.
be. I love to golf. Actually, but I haven't actually been golfing for like 3 years, basically since my daughter was born. So Kids make it so.
Yeah, it takes up a
extra
lot of time. I can imagine. Actually falls nicely into one of my later questions. But yeah, you mentioned some of the earlier games you were playing. Obviously, the first console you ran with was sort of the Atari going into the NES. But what was the first real game that you fell in love with and remember playing on a daily basis and couldn't wait to come home from school or something to play? And that you really fell in love with? Do you remember what the first ever one was?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I mean, there's some that really stick out to me in my youth. I don't know if I could say they were my first. I mean, because I loved, Super Mario Brothers and the original Zelda, some of those NES games like Metroid, those kind of things I loved. But I think I was too young to like really be like truly deeply in love with them. I would say my top games like really stand out to me are more on the Super Nintendo is the Final Fantasy games. I love those, especially Final Fantasy 3, which is also Final Fantasy 6.
I never really got into those. Yeah,
they're just amazing stories, right? And honestly, so I hated reading when I was a kid, but I loved the stories that these role-playing games would tell, and like I could really get into it, and it helped me to learn to read. And now I love reading. I mean, I collect books. That's like what I do for fun, is read. And I think a lot of that came from playing games like Final Fantasy, or even like Link to the Past. Like I love A Link to the Past.
So it stemmed from those games.
Chrono Trigger. Yeah, I mean those games just really stood out to me when I was a kid. And then of course I loved all the other ones that are on the Super Nintendo. I loved like F-Zero. I loved Mario Kart, and Super Metroid is one of my top 10 favorite games ever. But those are the ones that really I think got me into gaming, and then I was sold forever.
Amazing. Well, until you had to have that hiatus, keeping your head down, stay in school, kids.
That was hard. It was hard
I can imagine.
Well, and I should say, it wasn't 100% hiatus, because whenever a Zelda game came out, so like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword came out, was on my break, but I borrowed my brother's Wii when those came out and played through those. So it wasn't 100%.
Yeah. Close enough though.
I mostly to avoid like the online games. Like World of Warcraft was huge when I was on my break, and like StarCraft 2. Like those are the ones that I was like, if I start playing these, I'll never leave them.
You'll really get hooked, yeah. So I was wondering, like immediately before Fortnite came out, so what was the games that you were essentially dedicating most of your time to, literally before that game came out?
So, Zelda Breath of the Wild was my biggest one before Fortnite. That was the one I 100%ed that. I did all the speed runs of it. I did like straight to Ganon runs and a lot of. So, I did a lot with Breath of the Wild, and then I was playing a little bit of like Splatoon 2, and I did dabble in the other BRs as well. Like I played H1Z1.
Oh, okay.
G for a while.
How did you find them?
It wasn't. I saw H1Z1 was big when I first started studying streaming. Like I was watching streamers for their business, because one of my clients was a video game company, and I was like, well, you got to work with influencers, and so the streamers were the influencers. So I started watching that, and I'm like, wow, awesome. Building a community and playing games, and I started watching H1Z1, and I was like, wow, this is such a cool concept, the battle royale concept. And when PUBG came out, and it was a lot, I feel like it was a little bit less, but it was a little less crazy than H1Z1. H1Z1 had been overrun by like hackers, and it was really just pro players that were in there, and it was like impossible for a new player like myself to really get acclimated to it. So I started playing PUBG when that came out. That was a lot more fun at first, and then Fortnite came out, and it was over.
It's literally been 2 years and about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Very recently, we hit the 2-year mark, basically, since Fortnite Battle Royale was released. The game that's literally changed culture, changed the face of the world in a certain aspect, in a certain respect. And I think many people know, especially all your audience pretty much that will be watching this know, that you have multiple brothers, right? Or at least one in particular that everyone knows about, Donald Mustard. that of course works for Fortnite and is very closely tied to it. Creative director, right, for Fortnite.
Yes, yeah. So he's actually, so he's not. So I do have two brothers. And they both work at Epic, and they're both executives there. So Donald is actually the creative director over all of Epic, not just Fortnite.
It's just a whole of Epic. That's
yeah.
So
which I mean, that Fortnite is a huge part of Epic, and so he is really heavily involved in the story that is, everything that you see in the changes in the map,
the events and things.
The events. The live events, all the stuff that you've seen with like Marshmallow or the Batman. Collaboration, or the Marvel stuff with Thanos. That's Donald 100%. Well, I mean, there's obviously a huge team, but that's like his driving. And then my other brother, he's a little bit more behind the scenes. He does a lot of technical stuff, and he doesn't just do Fortnite either. He does a lot of other things with the engine and just other things that Epic does. And there for a while. I mean, they started a company a long time ago called Share Entertainment, and they made a game. Well, they were eventually bought by Epic, and they made like the Infinity Blade series, which is on the iOS devices, so you're like iPhone. It was a huge game at the time. And
I'm an Android user, so I've never heard of it.
Like the #1 money-making game on iPhone until before like plans and all of that. So there was a lot. They've done a lot of cool things, and then they got brought over to help with Fortnite and some other projects.
Yeah, so the question I was going to lead into that with regarding that was, I guess, because they are so closely tied to the project of Fortnite, I guess, did you hear about Fortnite years before it was released around family dinners and whatnot? And if you did they ever sort of know or anticipate the scale that it would become, the beast that it would become today?
Yeah, so Fortnite was originally Save the World, right? So Fortnite had been announced, 5 years before Save the World came out. It had been announced for a long time, and it was released. It released, I don't remember exactly when. I feel like Battle Royale came out in September, right?
Yeah, late September.
I think Save the World came out in like May,
July, or something.
May before. It was earlier summer. Before Battle Royale, and I was at a dinner with my brothers. They were both there, and I had been playing a lot of Battle Royale games, and I was just like, man, and they were fun. PUBG was fun, H1Z1 was fun, but they were frustrating. They're just really buggy, and they weren't as fun as they could be. And I remember sitting down with them and saying, guys, whoever does whichever AAA title out there does the first Battle Royale, it's gonna be huge. Like, people will, everyone will play it. And Donald he looked at me and he's like, we've been thinking about it for a long time, and maybe we should look into this. And so Donald looked over at Jeremy and was like, hey, we should put together a team to figure out Battle Royale in the next couple weeks. And then within 2 to 3 weeks of that conversation, they had a working prototype, and then within a couple of months it was released. So I like to claim that Fortnite was my idea. Fortnite Battle Royale was my idea.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. MustardPlays is the reason we have this amazing game. Jeez.
Yeah, and I asked him later, I was like, was that really, that conversation led to Fortnite? And he's like, we had been thinking about it for a long time. And he's like, that was the conversation that was like,
you sparked
we need to do this now instead of later.
Yeah, exactly. You ignited the fuel, I guess. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I should have said I want royalties.
Right. Okay, so going on to your YouTube channel. So as a content creator, I just want to say a big congratulations, because you are almost at 50,000 subscribers, my man. You're super close. You are getting super close. So for those you're watching from my audience or anywhere else, make sure you're subbed to MustardPlays if you're not already. All of his things are going to be in the description. And I just wondered off the back of that, what has actually been your biggest highlight or achievement as a content creator?
Man, well, I mean, it depends on what you define achievement as. I mean, I have a big video.
Yeah, that's why I said highlight as well, so it's kind of personal to you.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it was last summer, they had custom games come out for creators, just like a very select few creators. Like, it was like 10 in the world. It was the bigger guys like Muselk and Laserbeam,
Mm-hmm.
and those guys got access to custom games in Fortnite, but
Mm-hmm.
I have some connections there, obviously, and I was like, hey, I want access too, and so they gave me access for like 4 hours to custom games. And I
Mm-hmm.
sat down with another creator named Seven, and
Yeah, he's
we did a
amazing.
bunch of stuff. Yeah, we did a bunch of stuff with Seven, really fun videos, and that one video we made out of that custom game it blew up and got like 2.5 million views.
Wow.
And so that was a huge coup for me. But the problem with that was I couldn't like replicate what we did there.
Uh-huh.
And like usually when you have like a big video that explodes as a content creator, you wanna keep that momentum going by doing similar type videos.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't do that at the time. So that I saw a little dip after that, and then when creative mode came out, I
Mm-hmm.
really like just grasped onto it. I was a little burnt out from Battle Royale,
Mm-hmm.
and just needed something different, but it was still Fortnite,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was just a perfect thing for me, and it helped me get into my creative juices and stuff. And so honestly, the greatest accomplishment of my creative career is just that I'm still doing it. I think because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. Anyone who is a creator and does it for a while, uh, and it hasn't seen some massive success. It's not like I've blown up and have millions of subscribers, and this is not my full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Still doing it on the side is not easy, but it's still something that I love, and so I'm glad that I'm still doing it. I'm glad that I haven't given up yet,
Mm-hmm.
because I have kids and a job and all this other stuff. I'm just proud that I'm still creating and making and having fun doing it, and so that is something that's important to me,
Uh-huh.
is to still have fun. And I think the day that I'm like consistently not having fun,
Yeah,
like
you're
that
actually
is gonna
sick
be
of
a
doing
sad,
it.
yeah, that's gonna be a sad day for me, and I hope that day doesn't come.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like I need it as just to
It's an outlet.
satiate it's my outlet for my creative side, because
Mhm.
otherwise you just kind of go through life as like meh. I don't want to be meh.
Yeah, I
Like
completely
this helps
understand.
me to not feel meh. That's that average Joe kind of.
Uh-huh. Gives you that extra little purpose and things to do that's yours.
Yeah, exactly.
That leads perfectly on to actually my next question. Sort of obviously, as you mentioned, you've recently just had another baby boy, right? Is the most recent you just had?
Yeah.
And you already had a girl, you said, a few years
like-
older. So you've got 2 little kids, you've got a wife, you've got a whole family, you've got a business or a full-time job that you run. So how do you balance all of that on top of content creating? And this sort of leads to a side question, because I see a lot of things on Twitter, especially of like younger kids that are at school that are trying to create content on YouTube, and they're like, oh, I don't have enough time, I got school. And I'm just like, you need to manage your time better. School's when you have the most time in the world, really.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what sort of advice
No,
would you have for them as well?
Yeah, well, first of all, guys, this is if you're in school, like if you're not in college, like you're in high school or junior high or elementary school, you have the most time you will ever have in your life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish, we didn't really have these kind of tools when I was a kid, like to create videos.
Same.
If I had computers as powerful as they are now, or even just my phone, like if I had a phone
Mm-hmm.
as powerful as I have right now when I was a kid, man, I would have been doing stuff all the time. Like it doesn't take 10, 12 hours a day to be a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
If I think at some point, if I ever went full time, I would spend that much time on it, but I
Mhm.
can't afford that right now. So usually, I've had to make some decisions though on life balance. Like I used to stream a lot more. Like it's just streaming. I would stream 2 to 3 hours a day. There's usually, quite a bit of prep, and then post. I'm editing that stream down into a smaller video for YouTube or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really do that anymore. I really just do uploads now, because
Mhm.
ever since my son was born, I just don't have
Yeah, it's
the
tough.
time to stream to 2 to 3 hours a day, plus the editing and stuff. But I
Mhm.
can go and shoot a creative map that takes me 20, 30 minutes and edit that down, in an hour
Uh-huh.
at the beginning of my day. And so that's what I'm doing to keep curating content.
And
is
still balance
I'm
everything
taking
else.
yeah. And, my life will change at some point, and I'll maybe be able to stream, or, maybe I'll see some sort of momentum where I can spend more time creating videos or streaming or something.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what the future brings. But right now, that's what makes sense for me. Like, honestly, you don't have to spend the time that Ninja's spending streaming and creating videos on to start. Like, just start, create every day or every week, and you don't even have to upload every day. I upload every day except for Sundays, but you don't have to do that. Just do it once or twice a week. Get into the habits and start forming a habit of hard work. And before you know it, you'll be able to pump out content really quick. Like, I've just reached a point where I can pump out a video really fast if I want. Like, even the one today I was working. Like, today I've released a video of my daughter playing through the Combine in Fortnite, even though it wasn't her. She's only 2 years old. But it was like her with footage from Magma, who's another amazing speedrunner.
Yeah.
And he's got like the top. It was one
like
of his
top 3
runs,
or something,
like,
right?
Yeah, so it was like a 42-second run, which was like top 10. And he sent me the footage of that, and I edited her over it and like playing, and it looked like it sort of looks like she's playing. And yeah, it was a 3-minute video, but it only took me like 30 minutes to make once I got the footage.
Nice.
So that maybe used to take me 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, you
but
become a
now
lot more
I can
efficient.
do it. Yeah, exactly. And so the time is now to start practicing and building stuff up. And especially when you're a kid in school, when you have so much time, you get home from school and you have 2-3 hours.
So many hours.
When you're like done with homework and everything, like that is a lot of time to create and
yeah. I don't think kids
do something more than just play.
Yeah, I don't think kids. I mean, I'm the older side as well. I'm like 27 myself, but yeah, I feel like a lot of kids these days don't realize how much free time they have and how little free time they will have when they're older and working full time on top of trying to do all this.
Well,
yeah.
And I didn't realize that too when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I
That's the
wasted
thing.
a lot of time when I was a kid. So, and that's okay. You also got to enjoy your childhood. Like, it's not a big deal. You'll reach a point where you're working like a dog, but also that's okay. The people that didn't waste time when they were kids, they're much further ahead than I was. Like, so those, like, 2 examples are my brothers, Donald and Jeremy. Like, Jeremy spent all of his time. He's more of the technical side of things. He spent all of his time learning how to program. He stayed up. I shared a room with him. He was up at midnight in the closet programming on my dad's laptop.
Wow.
And and he is so successful now because of that. And Donald, he spent he was an artist, and he spent all of his time drawing.
Oh wow.
And when he got to college, he was the top guy in all of his art classes, and he learned how to animate, and now he's having lunch with the Russo brothers and talking about Fortnite, or he's built the biggest game in the whole world. So I mean, that's what happens when you don't waste time. You are developing habits and things that are going to change your life forever. And I got a little bit of a later start because I was a little bit lazy. And now I'm working like that, and I know success, like greater success, will come in the future because of what I'm doing now. But if you do it when you're a kid and a teenager, you're going to see huge benefits when you're in your 20s and 30s.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that. That's amazing advice by Mr. Mustard. Mr. Mustard. That's amazing advice by Mr. Mustard. That's a tongue twister right there, Mr. Mustard.
It's tough.
Yeah. Okay, so now it is mini game time. So this mini game is called Batman.
I'm ready.
He's really ready. This minigame is called Dream Team, and essentially I want you to imagine that you are a World Cup captain, so the World Cup creative that just happened recently. Imagine you're one of the captains and you absolutely need to rely on this one player that you pick to clutch the win in each of these scenarios or game types that I propose. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that the other 2 that you don't pick, I'm going to give you 3 options, so the other 2 that you don't pick is going to be who your pick is up against.
Opponent.
Yeah, so they're going to be your opponent. You ready?
Oh my gosh, this is hard. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit tough. So the first game mode is going to be a mini battle royale, and just to give you a little bit of a setting, there's only these 3 left. The zone's in its final closing zone, so it's literally not going to be moving around anymore. All these guys have the same amount of health though, and your 3 picks are Ninja, Tifu, or Booga.
Oh, Booga. I mean, hands down. I mean, the other two are awesome players, but Booga, man, he is a machine when it comes to competitive.
Yeah, he's literally a monster. World Cup solo winner as well. But you picked that real quick. When I was writing this question, I was
question.
yeah, it's kind of tough though, because I mean, I feel like Ninja and Tfue can clutch up. And
they
are
can
amazing,
clutch up, but I think consistency. I mean, that is why Booga won. He is so consistent, and not that Ninja and Tfue aren't amazing players, but Booga, we didn't even know Booga before the World Cup, really, and watching him, consistently win games and get high placements against the top people, like Ninja didn't even make it to the World Cup.
Yeah,
and Tfue, we know how Tfue did in the World Cup. He didn't do super well. But versus Booga was consistent against the top top players. Absolutely choose.
Well, there we have it. He's going to be your man for the mini battle royale. So the second game mode is going to be more of like an attack and defend type map. And just when I was trying to think of an example for it, I thought the Junkyard Juke map that they actually had at the World Cup would be a great example. So we got like two opposing teams in the middle trying to stop the other guy trying to score points using the prop. If you recall that map, right? Do you remember how that map goes?
Yeah, totally remember.
So imagine that map, and these are your three picks. You got Allier, you got Muzelk, and you got Laserbeam.
Muzelk, easy.
Easy.
Oh yeah. I mean, no offense to Allier or Laserbeam. They're awesome content creators, but I feel like Muzelk is he's actually got some true skill when it comes to gaming, and not that Laserbeam or Allier aren't good. They're better. They're probably better players than I am, but Muzelk I think is like another level.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I completely agree. He's actually got like some really nasty skills on the sly.
Yeah.
All right, so the last one, the last one's going to be the toughest, but also could potentially be the easiest at the same time, especially after hearing your first answer to the mini battle royale. But Death Run. So think Death Run, literally how the Creative World Cup ended with a Death Run, and you got these three guys who were actually all a part of the Creative World Cup. So we got Four Turtle. We've got Hi, I'm Tyler, or FKA, Mr. Poopy Farty Face, or whatever he used to call himself. And Zand.
That's tough. I'm a huge fan of death runs. Like, I've played a lot of death runs, and I've watched a lot of these guys. I'd probably say Four Turtle. I feel like the other guys might be better than Four Turtle when it comes to practice, but I think first time viewing of a death run, like if you're like, here's the first time playing a death run, and go, and those three were playing against each other, I think Four Turtle might win. So I would, but that's a tough one because they're all super good. But I would probably choose Four Turtle.
Well, there we have it, and that is Mr. Mustard's Dream Team. You got Booga, Muzelk, and Four Turtle. Let's go.
That's a good team right there.
Yeah,
I'll take them in the World Cup.
That's a pretty solid team, to be fair. I think you'll be grabbing yourself a piece of that 3 million or 4 million, whatever the winners won.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's get back into the questions. And I wanted to start by, obviously, a lot of people know you because of, as you mentioned, you predominantly play on Fortnite creative maps. You play on various maps. You build amazing maps yourself. And that's your primary sort of content that you make. And I wondered, what is it, you kind of touched on this earlier, but what is it exactly that draws you to creative mode over the other modes?
Well, I think it's the diversity of creative mode. Like I said before, I got a little tired of Battle Royale, which I love Battle Royales. But I needed to change, and the nice thing about creative mode is you can have a death run, you can have an escape room, you can have a different battle royale map, you can have mini games, and you can make them yourself. There's zone wars and all sorts of things that come out of creative mode that you can't get anywhere else. Basically, what you're getting from a new map is a video game someone else has created. When I first played Wirt Andrews' Dungeon Prison series, that really opened my eyes to what creative mode could be. And I was like, whoa, this guy made a game. It took me 3 to 4 hours to beat his map. And I was like, I can beat some other video games in faster time than that. This guy made a whole video game that
so
engrossed
elaborate.
me for 3 to 4 hours. And that's what opened my eyes. Man, this is so cool. And then getting in and building it and being able to put what is in my brain out, and it looks awesome and it functions, like that is just really cool to me. And it refreshed me in the gaming where even every day now I play a different map and it feels different. It feels like a different game. It feels like something new, and I love that about it.
Yeah, I literally completely agree. I mean, like we do similar types of content. So that's literally the same reason. It just feels so fresh. It's like you said, feels like you're playing a brand new game every single time. Especially some of these amazing things that these creators come up with. As we talked about, obviously the Fortnite Creative World Cup just happened very recently, and I had Barla on in the first episode, who of course casted over the World Cup, including the creative side of things. And we were talking about how on the day that the Creative World Cup happened, a lot of people tuned out because they were obviously expecting Battle Royale, and they were just like, what the hell is this? It's Fortnite Creative, and they just didn't watch it. And that we both agreed and talked about how some of our biggest highlights of all 3 days came from the actual Creative World Cup. So a lot of people really missed out on it, which is kind of unfortunate. And yeah, so I just wondered whether you anticipate any future specific creative events happening similar to that, where it's like a LAN of people that are playing creative maps come together. But if you do, like, sort of what sort of setting do you imagine it being? What sort of game mode and things like that? Like, do you see it happening again?
Yeah.
Just for creative?
I definitely see it happening again. But I don't know how soon. I think they need to make some changes to creative mode first. And I think we've seen some of what creative mode can become in the Combine. Like the Combine is just a creative map. I mean, it's literally on a creative island, and it's got a leaderboard on it, and they've put it out as an LTM, right? Or even look at the Zone Wars. Those are super popular, especially as they're highlighted on the main menu on the main Fortnite menu.
Yeah.
And so I see creative mode really taking off if they implement more leaderboards kind of thing, where you could have, here's the top 30 maps, or the top 30 played maps or something, and here's the world record on it, time, or death counts or whatever it is. And really important to creative mode is matchmaking, and then also just more of an easier way to find maps for people.
Yeah.
So I think once they can get that, we're going to see more events that are like the Combine, where they put up an awesome map and they say, here's the leaderboard, who's going to be the top people on it, and you'll see a lot of people playing it. I mean, the Combine, I saw a ton of creators playing it, like Muselk, Avery. You get your speedrunners come in,
just
like
a fresh
Magma,
piece of content, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And challenge.
And it's highlighted, right? People are searching for it. So I think that's a key to Fortnite creative success is having more visibility, searchability, and
accessibility.
Accessibility, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you talked about like Wert Andrews' map being completely mind-blowing. So I want you to answer this next question by impulse, because it's going to be a really tough question. Right. But yeah, I just wondered what your top 3 all-time favourite Fortnite creative maps were, but you got to think from the top of your head, just so it just comes straight from your heart.
Yeah, so I mean,
tough.
definitely the Dungeon Prison series. I'm gonna say Dungeon Prison series as one map.
Yeah,
the whole thing is amazing. Let's see. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, like my number one, my top ones. I love any escape room. So I really love Jag's like Escape the Dream maps. Were really fun.
I think that was literally the first creative map I played, or one of the first.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also think of Jess Grand's death runs. Like his death runs are so visually amazing, and they're just fun to play through. And so I would say his first one was I was like, wow, this is what a death run should be. Versus you see a lot of the default death runs and stuff out there, which are still fun. I really like that that's a category, but it's not a lot of effort. At least in design.
Just very simple designs, yeah.
Yeah. Versus Jess Grand's death runs are beautiful and really hard and fun. They're just fun.
Yeah. Like I literally kind of like I'm generally scared of death runs, so I refuse to play his or Scissor's early ones. I think I played Jeskrad's latest one, the one with the huge phoenix at the end, and it was so good, and I was able to complete it, so it felt good. It only took about 40 minutes.
That one was a little bit easier.
Yeah,
than his other ones.
I remember him saying, "Yeah, that's three incredible choices right there." Yeah, I can imagine there's so many just great maps out there. So yeah, that's why I was like, I wonder what his top three.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean, I doubt those are actually my top 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you really think about it, yeah.
And like look through it, I'd be like, oh no, there's this one. And, I mean, there's just so many awesome map creators out there. There's some whenever they release a map, I'm like, I'm playing that.
Yeah.
So you just know it's gonna be good.
That's the super cool thing right now as well. That is you know which sort of map builders are like guaranteed to come out with just a epic map. You don't even need to know what the map's going to be. So sort of final question from me to close out is, where do you hope to see yourself in 1 year's time from now?
That's a great question. I hope to grow my channel. I hope creative mode is a bigger thing. I hope it gets momentum so that more people are searching for it and wanting to see that kind of content. Because I think it's just got so much potential. And so I hope my channel's grown quite a bit more, where my videos get more consistent views, as opposed to, like, sometimes I'll have a video that gets tens of thousands of views and does really well, and then I'll get one that, maybe hits 1,000. I want that to be more consistent and reliable. And then I'd also love to try. I hope there's another game that comes out that is appealing to the Fortnite crowd, where there's just a little bit more diversity. I think there is one that's going to come out this year that will be popular, but I can't talk about it yet because
it's an Epic Games game then.
Yeah, it is an Epic Games game, and I think it will be really popular.
Okay.
But we'll see. Those things take time to. So I'm hoping that one, provides some crossover with the Fortnite crowd.
Cool. Yeah.
I would love to at least double subscribers by this time next year. I would love to be at 100,000.
100K, mate.
Yeah.
May I pray you hit that big 1 mil by next year. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's what I
aim
mean.
higher. Yeah.
That's the thing with you never know with YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like if you have something that takes off and you can sustain it, you can hit 10 million in a year. That's what a lot of these Fortnite YouTubers and streamers have seen. I mean, Ninja, he just exploded.
Yeah.
Or Laserbeam, he went from 1 million to 10 million. It's
just literally just skyrocket completely. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. So yeah, that's it for my set of questions. But
sweet.
Seeing as you do play obviously a bunch of creative maps, I thought it made sense to ask the map builders themselves, ask the community out there if they have any questions for you. So I picked out my favourite ones, the ones that I thought made sense. So yeah, I'll run through those if you're happy to answer them. So the first one's from Comrade Blue, and he asked, what types of maps do you tend to play the most and why, and do you generally pick them based on difficulty and length?
So there's a few questions in there. So I would say the number one, my top favorite maps are the escape room / adventure maps, and then after that is death runs. I would say I play probably about an equal amount of both. When it comes to content creation, I love a map that's 20 to 30 minutes long to play, just because I can get through it and edit it down and then start my normal day of work pretty quick. But my favorite maps that really engross me usually take 2 to 3 hours. Like I loved those, those are like the dungeon prison maps, where Andrew maps usually take more than an hour. Like his detective series is super, super awesome, but those maps take an hour or two to get through. And so as long as I'm prepared for that, I'll make a video on it. But it's frustrating sometimes when I sit down to make a video thinking it's going to be 20 minutes and it turns into 3 to 4 hours. And
completely understand.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm usually looking for when it comes to, am I going to make a video about it versus am I just playing this for fun?
Yeah, that's a great answer. Next question's by Buzzles, the main man. And he asked, what's the longest time you spent playing a single map and what map was it? I guess you answered that earlier, potentially. Or did one take longer?
The longest map I ever played in a single sitting was the Dungeon Prison series finale.
Okay.
So it was the final one,
Uh-huh.
and I was streaming it, and it took the entire time. Like I beat it with like 5 minutes to spare, I think, and that was after this. Like the storm was already like moving in,
Wow.
and I was like, I have to finish this. And I was streaming it, and Wirt Andrew was watching, and I was like, I even had him give me some tips at the end to beat the boss because it was just took so long. There was one room in that map that was like impossible, and I barely got past it. And Wirt Andrew eventually changed it after that because he watched me suffer through it for like
So
an
tough.
hour or something. But yeah, that was the longest. Was for sure the Dungeon Prison finale.
Yeah. Wait, so how long was that? Like 3 hours? You said?
It was because I think it was 3 hours and 50 minutes. Or
Yeah, that's the limit usually. On
yeah,
creative.
I reached the limit. It was like down to the wire. And I don't want to play this again.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to finish.
Oh my god. Yeah, that literally happened to me on the Rainbow Dropper by Henry, the first one that he ever made. So the next question is by AJ Make Stuff, and they asked, "How's life with the new baby?"
Oh man, it's awesome. Our new baby is super chill. He is such a chill baby, and he sleeps really well. But even that's being like having said that, babies, even easy babies, are hard babies because you're just tired, and even with a newborn, you just have to hold them all the time, and you get tired. Your back gets tired and stuff. So my wife and I are tired for sure, but man, they're so fun, and they're so worth every ounce of effort. My wife and I are super connected and like happy with each other, and it translates also to our kids. And so life is really good with the kids. We love our kids and each other. It's amazing. I'm a very lucky man.
That is beautiful. And the last one over here is by Peganix, and they asked, with sort of games that went silent for a while, like Minecraft now returning to popularity, do you think you'd stick with Fortnite, or will you switch over to whichever game's getting a buzz, e.g. Minecraft?
Yes and no. Like I actually did a video on Minecraft recently, and a lot of my audience didn't really react well to it. And now I know like a game like Minecraft has a really built-in audience, and I'm like a super noob going over to that. And I mean, I think there is some demand for that on my channel, but not a lot. I don't think I will move over to Minecraft though. I think I would if there was something new that was getting a lot of buzz that I thought had some real legs. Like I won't move over for something like Apex Legends, which I think the buzz for Apex Legends, I knew when it very first came out, everyone was like ranting and raving, this is a Fortnite killer. I knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
And even with the Season 3 map that just came out, I knew that wasn't going to last long. And it lasted, like it didn't last anywhere near as long as I thought it would. I thought there would still be some buzz today about it, but it's just dead. Like there's nobody's talking about Apex Legends. And I don't think the next big game is going to be a battle royale. I think it's going to be something that's totally new and fresh and different. I think the creators that really succeed long term are the ones that adapt and are willing to say, you know what, I'm going to move on from this game, or slowly move on to something else. And I would absolutely play something else if it made sense for my channel, if I liked it, and if there was enough popularity for it. So yes, I would change over.
Cool, yeah, that makes complete sense. And that is it for this section. But
all right, sweet.
You can't leave yet, Mr. Mustard.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm getting really used to saying Mr. Mustard.
All right, that's good.
We are going to have to send you on the BP run. This is a mini little death run made by Blue Pumpkin. We've only had one challenger so far, who of course is on the leaderboard in the #1 spot, Mr. Bala. But yeah, his run was 4 minutes, and being as you are a death run player, Fortnite creative player, the pressure is on for you to absolutely top that leaderboard.
I feel the pressure. Oh, we're going up behind me. Okay, here we go. So start on the left side, and this is the end right here. Right?
Yeah, that's the ending.
Oh wait, you gotta go around. This is the worst part. It's like an escape room. I gotta find out where they go.
Find where the start is. There you go, you've made it.
Checkpoint, let's go, baby. Alright.
So he's in the first section right now.
Oh!
Ooh. Should be fairly simple for Mustard at least.
What is this? Ah! Those traps weren't going off.
Baited the trap.
What's
Now this is where it gets tough.
Oh, okay. I did not know. You can't see anything.
Yeah, you're blinded there. It's going to be more of a memory game.
I see. Oh, I see. Okay. All right, no problem. I got this.
You went right the first time.
Oh, now this stinks. I'm 1 minute down. No problem. Oh my gosh. Dang it. I can't see anything.
So it's more of like a memory game, kind of. You got to do trial and error. Oh, and he's made it through.
All right. What is this? What the heck?
You went down the wrong way.
Oh.
Oh, there he goes.
We got it. What is this? Oh, it's
There you go,
checkpoint.
checkpoint.
There's a checkpoint.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Now we just have.
You should be through a trap baiting thing right now.
Not this way. Okay.
Somehow Barla did this part first time. This.
Oh really? He just picked the right way.
Yeah, I have no idea. I seen him down in this next section straight away. I was like, how the hell did you just do that first time?
Wait, is that it? That's not the right way.
How's it looking?
Alright, good.
And he's made it to the next bit. This is close to the edge.
What the heck? I see.
Oh, there we go. And he's gone straight for it. And boom.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I don't know what the actual time. Man, dang it! That
You
stupid
lose.
jump. 6 minutes.
6
Oh, that's
minutes
embarrassing.
on the dot. And that is the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want to say a huge thank you to MustardPlays for coming on the show. Make sure you guys check out all of his links in the description if you're not already. Mustard, you got any final words to close us out?
No, I mean, just thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. It's cool to come and talk about real life stuff and get background people you watch on YouTube. So I think this is really cool. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. And peace out, ladies and gentlemen. Catch you guys on the next one.
That stupid dang death run.
Peace.
Out of here.
You don't wanna mess with me. Show you how I do when I catch the beat. Show you how to groove, you can test to see. Squad fall, so I gotta mess with me. Yeah. Other niggas finished, done.